All right, everyone, listen up because this right here, this is the roadmap no one's talking about. If you hold XRP, this could be the single most important video you have ever watched. I'm about to show you how a perfect storm of technicals, regulations, ETFs, Wall Street money, central bank adoption, and Ripple's banking emissions could ignite XRP past $2,500 per token. And before you roll your eyes and get all crazy on me, every piece of this puzzle, it's already in motion. Altcoin Golden Cross confirmed. SEC clarity in the US. Ripple's legal case fully behind us. ETFs already stacking billions for Bitcoin and Ethereum, and Ripple working directly with central banks. That's right. All in the midst as why US is applying for a US bank charter. Folks, this isn't hopium. This is cold, hard data that is all converging right now. By the end of this video, trust me when I tell you, you're going to see exactly why XRP's path to $2,500 isn't just possible. It's the logical outcome. Now let's dive in. Here we go. Here's Jake. He's going to kick it off. We're going to listen to his video. He discusses XRP's price and what could push us past that $2,500 barrier. Listen closely.
So let's talk about XRP because I bought a chunk. What happens if it goes to 2,500? What needs to happen for that to happen?
There's a lot of things that have to, it's the requirements for that to happen. A lot of people just tell you, oh, there's, flip a switch, get out of here with that stuff. There's actually global macroeconomic events that need to play out in order for that supply shock to take place to push it to that value. And that's what it would have to be. There's supply and demand economics. People look at total market cap, but in reality, it's whatever the supply is on the market for purchase that drives the liquidity and the market dynamics and value.
Can't they make more XRP?
They cannot. So originally there was 100 billion. XNS was what it was originally called, minted June 2nd of 2012. And they black holed that account. So what that means is nobody has access to it. They can't get back into it. They can never mint more. Nobody can freeze the XRP. It is locked at 100 billion and 5,000 of them are burnt every single day. So it's literally the only deflationary asset besides like uranium on the planet.
Well, that makes it.
All right, let's dig in here. Your first trigger, it has already been pulled. The altcoin Golden Cross just lit up the charts. Now, for those of you who don't know, a Golden Cross happens when the 50-day moving average pushes above the 200-day moving average. It is one of the strongest bullish signals in technical analysis. And this isn't some one-off blip. It's a pattern that has been deadly accurate and predictive massive runs in altcoins. The last time this hit, altcoin market cap went up 140% in just 2 months. Let that sink in. 140% in 2 months. Projects of real utility like ETH back in 2017, they did a 3x, they went to a 5x, then they did a 10x. Here's where XRP comes in because unlike most alts, XRP, it hadn't had its breakout yet this cycle. Other coins ran, yeah, I get it. XRP's been stuck in legal quicksand. We haven't made an all-time high in almost 7 years, everyone. Now that shackles are off, guess what? It is primed for not only explosive growth, but what I like to call the catch-up period. The Golden Cross. It doesn't just signal momentum here, everyone. It triggers rotation. As Bitcoin dominance starts to stall, liquidity starts to flood into alts. And where do institutions and whales rotate into? Well, the assets with the best liquidity, the ones that have a regulatory clarity and institutional on-ramps. XRP checks all 3 of those boxes. So while retail's out there chasing meme coins, guess what? The smart money is piling into XRP during alt season. And this isn't me speculating. The data's already confirming the setup. And this setup, it only gets more powerful when you realize what's happening on the regulatory front in the US. Talking about the regulatory front, here's everyone's favorite SEC chairman, good old Paul Atkins. And guess what Paulie Boy just said? He said most crypto tokens are not securities. And we must allow for a super app trading platform. A super app trading platform. That's not random chatter. That's not a shot across the bow here, folks. Listen to Paul. listen to this and pay attention. And then we're going to dive in and connect this to what's been going on with Ripple and XRP for years.
Initiative to modernize securities rules and regulations to enable our markets to move on chain. Our priorities are clear. We must provide certainty regarding the security status of crypto assets. Most crypto tokens are not securities, and we will draw the lines clearly. We must ensure that entrepreneurs can raise capital on chain without endless legal uncertainty. And we must allow for what I like to call a super app trading platform innovation that increases choices for market participants. Platforms should be able to offer trading, lending, and staking under a single regulatory umbrella. Investors, advisors, and broker-dealers should have the freedom to choose multiple custody solutions as well. So meanwhile, in keeping with the recent Presence Working Group report, the SEC will work with other agencies so that a platform can offer trading in crypto assets, whether or not they are securities, along with services like staking and lending.
All right, so here's what changed. Ripple fought the fight no one else wanted to, and they won. The court made it crystal clear that XRP itself is not a security. That clarity alone would have been bullish, but it didn't stop there, folks. Congress, they have already pushed forward frameworks like FIT 21, which basically creates a rule book for the entire industry. For years, institutions sat on the sidelines, not because they didn't like XRP, but because nobody wanted to be the test case against the SEC. That excuse is now gone. It's out the window. With the Ripple case resolved, XRP is arguably in a better regulatory standing than Ethereum, than Bitcoin, which still, Ethereum, it still faces uncertainty, especially around the staking aspect of it. So this is where things get crazy though. US banks, payment providers, and hedge funds, they have been dying for clarity to launch products and rails on XRP. Now they can. And when US clarity lines up with the European MiCA regulations, that means XRP can scale globally without any roadblocks, folks. By the way, if you don't want to be left guessing on how to position yourself for all of this, I do private calls 101. I help you build a cleaner and actionable XRP strategy tailored to your goals. The link's in the description of all my videos. So stop guessing and start executing. And now on top of all this, what do we have lined up? Which is going to be one of the biggest catalysts for XRP. It is the spot ETFs. ETFs are the bridge between retail hype and institutional capital. And XRP, it is next in line. We've already watched this playbook unfold. Bitcoin spot ETF launched, and within a year, they pulled in over 110 billion in assets. Ethereum, 12 billion in just 6 months. And here's the kicker. Ethereum's ETF, approval happened while the SEC was still waffling on whether it was a security or not. They had no clue what they were going to do. Now imagine this. Imagine XRP with regulatory clarity locked in, multiple US spot ETFs approved under the 1933 Act, the same legal foundation as Bitcoin, custody solutions already scaling. Ripple literally owns Mateo, which provides institutional grade custody for the biggest banks in Europe. ETFs aren't just about price appreciation, everyone. They're institutionalized legitimacy. Every pension fund, every wealth manager, every trading desk, suddenly they have the green light to allocate money into XRP. And once those ETFs inflows start building, it creates self-reinforcing demand that accelerates price discovery. Bitcoin ETFs, it made billionaires richer. XRP ETFs, well, that's going to give XRP the rocket fuel that it has been missing for the past 7 years. And don't take my word for it. Wall Street's biggest names are already putting hard numbers on the table for what XRP ETFs could bring in. Here you go. JP Morgan, they dropped projections for Solana ETFs, and what they're saying on XRP ETFs is freaking massive. Here's what JP Morgan had to say. They said Solana ETFs could see between 3 to 6 billion inflows within about 6 to 12 months. Not bad. But for XRP, they said 4 to 8 billion within the same time frame. Now stack that up against Bitcoin, which did 110 billion in 12 months, and ETH that did 12 billion in 6 months. Folks, this is validation for the world's largest bank. JP Morgan, they're not guessing here. They're modeling the adoption curves and institutional interest. And they're telling their clients point blank, XRP belongs in the same tier of investable digital assets. So why does this matter? Very simple. Very simple. Because the second Wall Street puts its stamp of approval on XRP, you know what happens? The herd follows. JP Morgan clients, BlackRock, Fidelity, they all start allocating. And when you combine that with retail FOMO during an alt season, that's how you bridge the gap to a 4-digit XRP. And everything is lining up right now in front of our very eyes. And if Wall Street inflows weren't enough, Ripple is building adoption at a level no ETF can match. They are working directly with, you guessed it, central banks. Here we go, XGraph, just to pull me a quick list. What central banks Ripple are currently working with? You can see on here, we got the Royal Monetary Authority of Bhutan. We got the Central Bank of Montenegro. We got the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. We have the Central Bank of Nigeria, and we got the Republic of Palau. But it gets even crazier because Ripple has confirmed that they are working with 40 to 50 central banks worldwide. You heard that correctly. 40 to 50 central banks worldwide. Now, that's not theory. That is happening right now. Don't believe me? Well, Rip always comes with the evidence. Listen up. It comes in at the 32-minute and 12-second mark. I am starting this 17 seconds away. Listen.
To say, I think Ripple actually took a very contrarian view and actually said, no, we will be working with central banks, regulators, and banks to make sure that our solution is widely adopted. And which is why I'm actually employed by Ripple, because so we actually work very closely with about 40, 50 central banks across the globe, including Bank of Thailand. So Ripple has taken that approach of collaboration and education, as Mansa mentioned. I think apart from it,
folks, this was back in 2018. The IMF, the BIS, the G20, they have all published reports on the need for cross-border settlement solutions. Ripple is the only player at scale with a real-world token built for the exact use case. Every central bank that integrates Ripple's tech, guess what? It increases XRP's demand as a liquidity asset. Think about it though. If just 10% of those 40 to 50 central banks go live, you're talking about trillions in flows that could touch XRP. That's the kind of fundamental demand that makes 2,500 not just hype, but really breaks it down to simple math. And Ripple's not stopping their partnerships, everyone. They are going after the crown jewel of the U.S. finance itself. We're talking about, that's right, the National Bank Charter. Imagine a future where Ripple is the bridge bank between crypto and TradeFi, where XRP isn't just a speculative asset, but the default liquidity tool used by institutions inside the U.S. banking system. That kind of legitimacy right there, it flips the narrative forever. It's the final boss fight, and Ripple, it's already in the arena and it is gearing up. So let's tie this all together. The altcoin Golden Cross sets the stage for an altcoin season surge. Regulatory clarity gives XRP the legal shield that it needed for years. ETFs open the floodgates for billions in institutional inflows as JP Morgan's putting XRP in the same league as Bitcoin and Ethereum. Central banks, well, they're quietly adopting Ripple's rails. And now Ripple's applying for a U.S. national bank charter. Put it all together, and you know what? $2,500 doesn't sound outrageous. It sounds like it's right around the corner if you ask me. The question isn't if, the question is when is it going to happen at this point? So if you're holding XRP right now, guess what? You're early. You're ahead of the curve. And when the rest of the world wakes up, you are already going to be positioned, folks. If you like this video, do me a favor on your way out, smash that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, make sure you share it with a friend, and I'll catch all y'all on the next one.